Hey guys, KiraKennedy here, and welcome to Smark My Words, segment that is taking over Kira's wrestling vlogs because, basically it's the name I used to use for my podcast, and quite frankly, I think it's too cool of a name to kind of just leave lying around like it's nothing. Anyways, point of this is that I am trying to go back to, at least semi-regular wrestling reviews. So, I will be starting with, I guess, what's technically the start of the year for WWE, the beginning of their road to WrestleMania. It is time for my Royal Rumble weekend predictions. Now, of course, Royal Rumble will not be the only show I'm talking about, and where I will start off is NXT TakeOver Phoenix, which will be taking place the night before the Rumble, Saturday, January 26, 2019, live from the Talking Stick Resort Arena in Phoenix, Arizona. There are currently 5 matches confirmed for the card, so I will be going from bottom to top because, as was the tradition with Kira's wrestling vlogs, I have the Wikipedia page open on my phone. Ignore the lighting switch there. Anyways, first up, we will start off with the latest match that had been announced, Matt Riddle taking on Cassius Ohno. I've actually been a fairly big fan of the King of the Bros since he has debuted in NXT, just making sure my mic was working. Since he debuted in NXT, and I think he's been having some he's had a fairly decent match with Cassius Ohno, not counting the 7-second squash Ohno had at TakeOver War Games. I think this one's kind of one of the more obvious outcomes on the card, just because and Ohno's been saying it himself, he's kind of been serving as this kind of gatekeeper in NXT. Basically, the same position Ziggler was in a few years back, where he's kind of there to give the opponents the kind of new big name call-ups to NXT. They're like a good solid match to start things off, even though, if I can make a bit of a hot take here, I don't think Ohno's that good of a wrestler. Because a lot of the matches I've seen him have in WWE are not that good. He didn't have a good match with Velveteen Dream at TakeOver War Games last year. He didn't have a good match with... He definitely did not have a good match with... was it TakeOver War Games? There was a TakeOver match between him and Velveteen Dream. It was not good. There was a match on NXT a couple weeks ago he had with Keith Lee. It was not good. I don't know if it's just he can't adapt to the WWE style, but I'm kind of putting Ohno in a very similar boat to what I put Ruby Riott in a long time ago, where I don't think he's adapting well to the WWE style. But either way, I think the outcome is fairly obvious here. Bro, Matt Riddle wins. It's fairly obvious he's still new with the company, and quite frankly, Ohno's kind of just there to be the guy that can put on a decent match with him to showcase Riddle's strengths. Either way, that is done. So we move on to the second match of the night, and the first of 4 championship matches. Every single title in NXT is on the line at TakeOver Phoenix. First up, you have the one and only Ricochet, the former Prince Puma, allegedly, defending his NXT North American Championship against the Rebel Heart, Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Failure, Johnny Dumbass, whatever you want to call him, Johnny Gargano. And I think this one's a little more interesting because, while I haven't been crazy about the way they've been booking Johnny lately, you know, the fact that he's now a sort of heel, sort of face, but he's been teaming with Ciampa, this can only go one of 2 ways. Both of which, and even then, one of those outcomes can only go one of 2 ways. And the outcome is, and that one is actually kind of the path I'm taking, because I think Johnny's going to win the NXT North American Championship here. And one of 2 things are going to happen. Either he and Ciampa are going to celebrate and DIY is going to reunite, which I hope not, because not for a lack of ability or anything, I can't stand Ciampa, just because he's so good as a heel. Like, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll notice I refer to him as the bald bastard, or the bearded bastard, or the bald bearded bastard, or the son of a bitch. Like, Ciampa is just so good at being a heel that I cannot stand him. And this isn't like, get him off my... This isn't like, this is a blight to society. This is like good, old school, solid, like, this is a horrible person heat, like, in a good way, almost. I can't really explain it that well, but Ciampa is very much an old school heel, and I respect him too much to not boo him, if that makes sense. But anyways, as I was saying before, this either leads one of two ways with Johnny winning the North American Championship. Either DIY reunites, or it was a tease to kind of set up for their eventual feud at NXT TakeOver. I'm going to go ahead and call it Brooklyn 5 because it's going to be taking place at the Barclays Center most likely, which is where NXT TakeOver Brooklyn's 1 through 4 happened. Even though it's happening during WrestleMania weekend. I'm rambling, but basically, I think either seeds will be sown here, or this will be the start of the actual build to Johnny's eventual match with Ciampa at TakeOver in New York during WrestleMania weekend. Up next, we have the second of our 4 championship matches. The Undisputed Era being represented by Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong defending their championships, their NXT Tag Team Championships, against the War Raiders, the team of Warbeard Hanson and Raymond Rowe. This is going to be, I think this is going to be a fun match. Just because it will be your standard big guy versus small guy match where Kyle O'Reilly bumps like a madman and basically covers Adam Cole's position of taking spots that would kill a normal human, because I'm pretty sure that Kyle, like his buddy Adam Cole, is actually a Highlander. And I think like the match before, we're going to see a title change here. But like I said, I think this will be kind of a play on your standard big man versus small man match. We will see O'Reilly and Roddy kind of try to chop down the big men. We're going to probably see Hanson do a tope suicida, which if you've ever seen Warbeard Hanson do a tope suicida, that is insane that a man his size can pull that off without, hurting himself without seriously injuring himself. I think the War Raiders win here to become the new NXT Tag Team Champions, because I think, don't quote me on this, I think Undisputed Era could be on their way up to the main roster, probably post-WrestleMania. But yeah, War Raiders win the Tag Team Championships. I'm just going to adjust the camera so that I have a nice little space for my graphics, a nice little even space for the graphics. Anyways, after that, we come to our third of 4 championship matches for the night. And the first that I don't think is going to, spoilers, I don't think is going to result in a title change. You have Shayna Baszler defending her NXT Women's Championship against the EST of NXT, the undefeated Bianca Belair. I like Bianca. She has improved so much since debuting in NXT. However, I think the undefeated streak ends here just because, I don't know, I would not be against Bianca winning the NXT Women's Championship, but something tells me that Shayna, well, besides the fact that Jessamine and Marina are in her corner and they can always cause some kind of an interference, the only thing I'm guessing to here is that they're building to Shayna eventually dropping her title to Io Shirai during WrestleMania weekend. I would not be against Bianca Belair winning the title here, and maybe Shayna, Marina, and Jessamine heading on up to the main roster for that long rumored 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen feud between Shayna, Jessamine, Marina, and Ronda Rousey, of course, taking on Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Sasha Banks. But I don't quite think that's where we're going. What I think we're going to see is that after Shayna drops her title, we're probably going to see like some kind of teasing to a 4 horsewoman thing. I don't know for sure, to be honest, but I think eventually Shayna, Marina, and Jessamine will probably be called up, probably post WrestleMania, and then you'll have all the UFC 4 horsewomen on the same brand, along with the 4 horsewomen of NXT, Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky. So yeah, Shayna retains here, goes on to feud with Io Shirai for Mania weekend, where she drops her title, then gets called up to the main roster. And after that, we come to our main event of the evening, the final of the 4 championship matches. You have Alistair Black, the former NXT champion, looking to regain his title from that bald-bearded son of a bitch, Tommaso Ciampa. As much as it sickens me to say this, there's only one logical outcome we can have here. That bastard retains. Because I think Alistair, before he was sidelined with a groin tear, I think he was rumored to be on his way up to the main roster, probably post SummerSlam. And I think post Mania, Black will be on his way up to the main roster for sure, whether that be 205 Live, SmackDown, or Raw, I don't know. But I think Ciampa will retain. I think Johnny will be involved in the finish. And like I said, this can go one of 2 ways. One, Johnny could tease a DIY reunion and then beat the holy hell out of Ciampa. Or we could have our DIY reunion, which will lead up to... And eventually Johnny will turn, claiming it was some kind of elaborate hoax to lull Ciampa into a false sense of security. That's the only way I can see this going the way it is, because like I think I said this before, I am not crazy about the way they booked Johnny since TakeOver Chicago, I guess, because basically but the whole build here makes sense given the story. You know, he kind of started, you know, in both his matches with Ciampa, his undoing was his rage and his lack of foresight. And so possibly leading into this idea of inadvertently helping Ciampa win the NXT Championship, then teaming with Ciampa, or teaming with Ciampa to double team Alistair Black during his cage match on NXT with Gargano, and then agreeing to go after Ricochet and the North American Championship instead of going after Ciampa. I think it's going to lead to either a champion versus champion encounter, or Johnny will drop his title to someone at an NXT TV taping in the build-up to Mania weekend. I don't know, but I think Ciampa retains here, and either the seeds will be sown, or this will be the start of a potential feud for Mania weekend. From there, we move on to the night after, the most exciting time of the year, the 2019 Royal Rumble. The 2019 Royal Rumble will be taking place the following night, January 27th, 2019, from Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. Currently, there are 9 matches set for the show, 7 main card matches and 2 pre-show matches, and in a rare case, I don't think we're actually going to get any matches added on last minute, just because the Rumbles take up so much time. Like, at the very least, both Rumbles will be an hour each, and that's like at least half of the show. Maybe 2/5, depending on how long the show actually goes, because if it's on the network, it can go as long as they want it to. Anyways, I will start with the pre-show matches and work my way up. First up, we have a fatal 4-way match for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. You have Cruiserweight Champion Buddy Murphy defending against former Cruiserweight Champions Akira Tozawa and Kalisto, as well as Hideo Itami, who will most likely have Arya Daivari in his corner. Now, I will fully concede I have not watched a lot of 205 Live in recent weeks. I think like the last time I saw a full episode was when I was at the SmackDown tapings back in August. But I am a huge fan of Buddy. I've seen some of Buddy's matches after winning the Cruiserweight Championship, and he has had some great matches. In fact, 205 Live in general, from what I've seen in like clips on YouTube, has had some really, really good matches since Triple H. Actually, since Triple H has taken over, 205 Live has had these amazing matches. The storytelling has been a lot more simple, but it has been a lot more effective as well. This one's kind of a shot in the dark here. I think we are going to have a new Cruiserweight champion, but I don't think it'll be a 2-time champion. I think someone whose respect is finally due, Hideo Itami, will walk out of Phoenix, the new WWE Cruiserweight champion. Just because, like, I love Tozawa. Tozawa is probably one of my favorite wrestlers. Well, since Mustafa Ali moved over to SmackDown, Tozawa has become my favorite member of the 205 Live roster. But I think he could possibly have grounds to set up to challenge Itami after the fact. Kalisto, I am admittedly indifferent to, but it seems like him and the Lucha House Party, he and the Lucha House Party are kind of focusing on Raw's tag team division at this point. So I don't think he's gonna stay on 205 for much longer. If anything, he'll probably be like Ali, and Lince Dorado, and Grand Metalik will probably all be shipped over to Raw to help bolster the tag division. So yeah, Hideo Itami, new Cruiserweight champion, because respect. All right, then we move to our second pre-show match. Rusev defending his United States Championship against the Rockstar, the King of Strong Style, the artist formerly known as, whatever you want to call him, Shinsuke Nakamura. I am a little torn on this because I like both guys, but I haven't been really following the storyline. I would love to see Rusev retain his title, but at the same time, I would love to see Nakamura carrying the United States Championship, because what little I did watch over the last few months, because I will be completely honest, since SummerSlam, I've kind of lost interest in WWE again. In fact, I think my interest only really started peaking around recently. My interest has really only started peaking around Big Four pay-per-views, just because they're Big Four pay-per-views. But that's a rant for another time. I will probably do that in a separate video. Nakamura has had some entertaining stuff since turning heel, but he needs this win. But at the same time, so does Rusev. So, I am going to let the coin decide. Heads, Rusev retains the United States Championship. Tails, Shinsuke Nakamura becomes a 2-time United States Champion. Tails, we're going to have a 2-time United States Champion crowned at the end of this match. Shinsuke Nakamura wins and regains the United States Championship. And if I am wrong, it is not my fault. I blame the coin. It will be the coin's fault if Rusev retains, even though I am not really against the concept of Rusev retaining his title. So, now we move on to the main show, and the first of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Sorry, and the, I guess, third of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 7 championship matches, but the first on the main card. You have the Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro, defending their SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships against the team of The Miz and Shane McMahon. I'll admit, I did not know this is a thing, because I haven't been watching much SmackDown, because SmackDown happens to air on days I stream. Now that I'm back into doing these kinds of videos, I will probably watch SmackDown the day after through Sportsnet's streaming service, if that's the case. I am not crazy that Shane McMahon has a title shot. Thankfully, I think this can only go one way. At least I hope this can only go one way. The Bar retains, and very much like what I had said about the Ciampa Gargano thing, we're either going to have the seeds sown here, like you saw some kind of descent between Miz and Shane, whether that means Shane turns heel like he was originally planned to, or Miz remains heel and turns on Shane, to eventually lead to, and I know there are some people who are going to be rolling their eyes at this, I know I am, just because I'm not a fan of Shane wrestling, to be honest. It's going to lead to Shane versus Miz at WrestleMania. I do not like this. Miz is a decent wrestler. He has definitely improved he's improved leaps and bounds over the years, from, you know, the guy who had to look at notes on his wrist during a segment with the during the Diva Search, to the man we know today. But I don't think he can carry Shane McMahon to a good match, and Shane McMahon needs to be carried to have a good match. So I think the bar retains, and either Miz, very similarly to when he and Asuka lost their first match in the Mixed Match Challenge last year, blames Shane and turns, unlike their match there at the Mixed Match Challenge, actually turns on his partner, or Shane turns on his partner, or it's a slow burn of kind of like, hey, you got to pull your weight here. We're both the best in the world here, because, of course, we have to reference that stupid Blood Money show in Saudi Arabia, the second Blood Money show they did. I'm not going to go any further into it than that. I did not watch Crown Jewel, and quite frankly, from the recap my dad gave me, I am glad I didn't, because I would have actually thrown something at my TV. Anyways, the bar retains, and this leads to the eventual match between Shane and Miz at WrestleMania. That's really all I'm going to leave it at. Although the next match is kind of controversial in its own right. You have Ronda Rousey defending her Raw Women's Championship against Sasha Banks. And the only reason it's controversial is because Ronda's involved, and I'm really not a big fan of Ronda Rousey. I understand, very similar to Lesnar, she brings that kind of mainstream audience in, you know, the MMA crowd or whatever. Or the MMA crowd who's not willing to completely shit all over wrestling because it's fake. I will say this again, I'm not that big a fan of Ronda. I will concede she has had some phenomenal matches since debuting in WWE. But the problem is she's been carried through those matches. Because I remember tuning out during her match with Nikki Bella, partially because I don't care about either Nikki Bella or Ronda Rousey, but also because this is going to come off as me being smarky, but hey, look at the title of the video. Nikki Bella's not that great a wrestler either. And on top of all of that, Ronda's promos have been terrible. You know, the immediate example that comes to mind was her Millennial Man promo when she was feuding with Becky Lynch, talking about avocado toast and stuff, even though Becky's actually, I think, 2 months older than Ronda. It was not a good promo, and it just didn't work. And her other promos, my biggest problem is that Ronda tries way too hard to sound like a badass. And that's not even including all the other issues with Ronda that open up a can of worms that I do not want to touch. Anyways, Sasha, I think, will, to try to reel this back to be a little more positive, I do think Sasha can put on a good match with Ronda, because Sasha is, honest to God, one of the best wrestlers in the women's division right now, along with Natty, Charlotte, Becky. Bayley's had some issues here and there, but she's a decent enough wrestler. I don't think Sasha gains the title here. I think we're going to see Ronda retain, and a lot of it has to do with what I think is going to happen for the Women's Rumble, and I'll talk about that later. Although, admittedly, what I think is going to happen during the Women's Rumble has a lot to do with stuff I've read on the dirt sheets, so take all of that with a grain of salt. And if I'm wrong, it's not my fault, it's the dirt sheet's fault. After that, we have our second of 2 women's championship matches, and our, I believe, fifth title match of the night. You have Asuka defending her SmackDown Live Women's Championship against Becky Lynch. And again, I think my choice here ties into what I think is going to happen with the Women's Rumble. But I think Asuka retains here, whether that be due to interference from the four horsewomen of UFC. So maybe we get a surprise debut from Marina Shafir, Jessamine Duke, and Shayna Baszler. I don't know. Maybe Ronda interferes or whatever. But I think we're gonna get to kind of sow the seeds or whatever. Or maybe like legitimately Asuka goes over here, but I think Asuka will be retaining her SmackDown Live Women's Championship. From there, we move on to the first of 2 World Championship matches that will be titles that will be defended this that night, and our 6th, I think, of 7 championship matches. 6th of 7 championship matches. You have the new and improved Daniel Bryan defending his WWE Championship, which most likely has some kind of plant-based leather strap at this point. Or plant-based leather alternative used for the strap. I don't know, because Daniel Bryan is basically a raging environmentalist at this point. Among other things. Defending his championship against the phenomenal AJ Styles. This one is interesting because I am happy either way, really. But either way, because I really can't choose, once again, the coin shall decide. Heads, Daniel Bryan retains his title. Tails, AJ Styles becomes a 2-time WWE champion. I'm going to try that again. Tails, AJ Styles becomes is the new WWE champion. Walks out of Chase Field, a 2-time WWE champion. From there, we move on to the final of our championship matches, which is also controversial, although for a different reason. That it's a little more divisive. Not necessarily in the result, but more in the competitors. Because you have Brock Lesnar defending his Universal Championship against Finn Balor. Now, I'll be honest, this one, again, very divisive. There are people who think Finn Balor has no place in this championship match because he's such a small guy and whatever. There are people who do truly believe because Balor is small, he doesn't belong in this match. There are people who think Balor has no personality. And then there's Duke CT who just hates Balor no matter what he does. I am in a different mind of this match. I'm glad Finn is finally getting another shot at the Universal Championship. I'm glad at how Finn's kind of been treated since TLC, basically, since the McMahons decided to, or since WWE decided to take this new direction, even though this new direction kind of sucks to begin with. There are some bright spots, like, of course, Finn being one of them. The problem is, and this is a problem I had, this is very similar to the problem I had with Jinder Mahal. I don't think, given the booking that Finn has had before this, that it is a believable challenge. Because not even a month ago, Finn was struggling against guys like Baron Corbin, like Dolph Ziggler, and that's not to... Okay, that seems like I'm throwing shade at Ziggler, and to be fair, I kind of am, but I really have not cared for Ziggler in a very long time. But he was struggling against guys like Baron Corbin, Jinder Mahal, and it's just like, really? And I've said this multiple times, like even when I was part of Con Bravo Club at Con Bravo, the wrestling panel being run at Con Bravo, I had said that I think in order for Finn to believably challenge Lesnar, he had to be booked strongly and not just as the Demon. And it also raises the issue of, if Finn were to bring in the Demon, would the Demon lose? And I think it's too soon for Finn to lose as the Demon. Like, when he was in NXT, the only time Finn lost as the Demon was his second last match before being called up to the main roster. It was treated like a big deal. You have the Demon lose here, it's just like when Lesnar beat The Undertaker. And quite frankly, I can't see Lesnar being intimidated by the Demon, just because Lesnar's got so much of an ego, he would hate to be made look weak at that point. I don't know about that much, but I can't see Lesnar being intimidated by the Demon. Because this is the same guy who openly on TV said, I don't even watch Monday Night Raw. Why would I watch Monday Night Raw? So, as much as I hate to say it, because I do not want, because it's bad enough he got another reign as Universal Champion, but I do not want this reign to continue. I think Lesnar's retaining here. I think Finn can bring him to a great match, like what happened with AJ Styles, like what happened with Daniel Bryan when they both faced Lesnar. But I can't see Finn coming out on top here, and I'm sorry to my fellow Finn Balor fans, but just based on the booking he's had before, up till like a month ago, I can't see Finn reasonably beating Lesnar. I can see him maybe carrying him to a good match just because Finn would have to bring his A game for this. Though at the same time, I can also see this being a repeat of Lesnar's match with Dean Ambrose, where Lesnar just didn't take it seriously and the match suffered because of it. So let me preface this. If the match sucks, it's not Finn's fault. I think it's going to be Lesnar's fault, for sure. But I think this will be I think this will be very similar to Lesnar's matches with AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, where he's fighting a smaller opponent who can bump like a madman and make him look like a monster, but can also kind of... Okay, I'm not 100% sure if he could fully bring his A game, but I don't think he could fully, bring Lesnar down like Bryan or Styles did with a more technical style, but I don't know. I just know that at least Finn will bring a good match out of Lesnar, or can hopefully bring a good match out of Lesnar. I was rambling a lot there, but basically, yeah. Point of the story is, Lesnar retains. I don't buy Finn right now just because of his booking, and hopefully Lesnar doesn't just phone in this match and not give a shit like he did with his match against Ambrose. Whew. All right. With that all out of the way, we come to the two matches that this pay-per-view was named for. First up, we have the Women's Royal Rumble match. Now, both Rumble matches will have the same rules. 30 competitors will be involved. After the first two enter, a new competitor will enter every 90 seconds to 2 minutes. And the only way to remove them from the match is to throw them over the top rope and have both feet touch the floor. The last person standing will earn a championship match at WrestleMania. In this case, a shot at either the SmackDown or Raw Women's Championship. Now, currently, for the Women's Royal Rumble, there are 23 women confirmed, basically every single active woman on the roster. Representing SmackDown, you have Carmella, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Zelina Vega, Naomi, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, Charlotte Flair, and Lana. And Carmella is specifically going to be entering at number 30 because she won the number 30 slot as part of the Mixed Match Challenge along with her partner R-Truth. Although R-Truth was supposedly going to be entering the Men's Rumble. Who knows? Maybe he'll get confused and try to enter the Women's Rumble because R-Truth is wacky like that. Anyways, representing Raw for the Women's Rumble, you have Ember Moon, Natalya, Bayley, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Alicia Fox, Mickie James, Tamina, Dana Brooke, Nia Jax, and Alexa Bliss. And, of course, they're labeled as free agents, but these are basically call-ups from NXT. You have Nikki Cross and Lacey Evans, who will also be taking part. Neither of them have confirmed brands, but I'm guessing Nikki Cross will debut, or will move to SmackDown while Lacey Evans moves to Raw. I'll be honest, I'm not crazy about Lacey Evans to begin with, just because I think her gimmick is a little too old-fashioned. I'd mentioned earlier during both women's championship matches that my results were kind of based on what would be the result for the Women's Rumble. And there are currently 7 open slots for surprise entrants. I think we're going to get the usual blast from the pasts, maybe Trish Stratus, maybe Lita, Who knows? Maybe Candice Michelle will appear. I don't know. But I think one of the surprise entrances in a callback to Roman's surprise entrance in the 2017 Rumble, despite having a shot at the Universal Championship earlier on in the night, which I know I called bullshit on that one, and I'm a little less likely to call bullshit on this one just because I like her more, but I think Becky will make a surprise appearance in the Rumble. I think it will come down to her and Charlotte, and I think very similar to the 1994 Rumble, we're going to have a double elimination at the end, and both Becky and Charlotte will win the Rumble and will earn that championship opportunity at WrestleMania. I know I'm putting winners up here, but let's face it, it's going to be a double elimination at the end, and both women will be awarded the championship match. And I'm guessing both will go on to challenge Ronda Rousey, or who knows, maybe something else will happen there. I don't know. I think both women will win the Rumble. Both women will challenge Ronda, and then Asuka's opponent will be revealed at Elimination Chamber, or the night after Elimination Chamber. I don't know. Or 2 nights after Elimination Chamber, I guess, since Asuka's on SmackDown. But Becky and Charlotte win the Rumble. Again, air quotes, because basically it's a consolation thing because both women eliminate each other at the same time. From there, we move on to the Men's Royal Rumble match. Same rules as before. 30 men will take part. After the first 2 enter, every 90 to 120 seconds, a new entrant comes in. Over the top rope, both feet have to touch the floor. Last man standing wins the championship opportunity at WrestleMania. As of right now, there are currently 20 men confirmed. So about 2/3 of the Rumble have been confirmed. Well, no, exactly 2/3 of the Rumble have been confirmed. So, representing SmackDown, you have Mixed Match Challenge co-winner R-Truth, who is supposed to enter at number 30, but again, maybe he gets confused because, again, R-Truth is wacky. He will be joined by fellow SmackDown roster members Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods, The New Day, Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, Mustafa Ali, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, who was the latest person to be announced. He basically confirmed his entry on SmackDown this past week. And of course, Andrade. Because 1, he dropped the Cien Almas in his name, and 2, you have to say it with the accent. That's what makes it cool. And of course, representing Raw, you have Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Bobby Lashley, Elias, Baron Corbin, Jinder Mahal, Apollo Crews, and Titus O'Neil, with John Cena representing as a free agent. There are currently 10 slots available for surprise entrances. I think we're going to see some calls from NXT. Maybe Alistair Black, maybe Velveteen Dream, possibly someone from Undisputed Era, maybe, I don't know, Bobby Fish, because Adam Cole was in last year's Rumble. Roderick Strong showed up at the Greatest Royal Rumble. I don't know, maybe Bobby Fish shows up here. I don't know. We're probably going to get some appearances from NXT UK guys. If I had to guess off the top of my head, maybe Flash Morgan Webster or Zach Gibson. I don't know. We're going to get some blasts from the past, like, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I don't know, Booker T. Booker T is a surprise entrant in the Rumble. Who knows? But I also think we're going to see Braun Strowman make a surprise appearance, because in storyline, Strowman was originally supposed to face Lesnar at the pay-per-view. But apparently that was never really on the table because they didn't want Strowman to lose. Because apparently if you have a guy you're trying to push lose a championship match, that might be a bad thing. Anyways, I think it's kind of a toss-up between Rollins and Strowman, but I think, gun to my head, you had to make me choose. I would normally resort this to the coin, but gun to the head, you had to make me choose. I would say Strowman wins it here, and he goes on to face Lesnar for the championship at Mania. And hopefully WWE doesn't get cold feet and they actually have, Lesnar toppled by Strowman. I could be wrong, and they could just wind up booking Strowman as Roman 2.0, but who knows? And while I'm saying that, Roman, I hope, I doubt he's watching this, but I would like to wish Roman like the best during his leukemia treatment. I know I'm a few months late to this, but it sucks. If you watch the Smark My Words podcast, or if you listened to the Smark My Words podcast, we did a whole episode where we were saying like, Roman, he seems like a nice guy, but his only downside was just how the booking was for him in WWE. And I honestly, I would not wish, having to go through leukemia once, let alone for a second time, on anyone. And I hope you get well soon, man. I really do. I doubt Roman's watching this, but on the off chance he is, I really hope you get better soon, Roman. So on that downer of a note, what do you guys think? What are your predictions for NXT TakeOver Phoenix and the 2019 Royal Rumble? Let me know in the comments below. And on the off chance that matches will be announced, that extra matches are announced for the Royal Rumble, I will post the updates in the description below, as well as on my Twitter. Which, speaking of which, if you guys would like to follow me on social media, I am on Twitter at KiraKennedyHNR. I'm also on Tumblr at KiraKennedyHNR.tumblr.com. And of course, you can always check out my Facebook page at facebook.com/KiraKennedyReviews. And as always, if you'd like to check out any of my past work, my Let's Plays, my stream archives, even my reviews, you can do so at peanutbutterdisaster.com. So, until next week, where I will most likely force myself to sit down and do my reviews on both shows, I'm Kira Kennedy, and thank you for watching.
Peanut butter disaster.